live. I'm gonna give it a minute for people to, catch up, stream in. All six of you. Chat set up. Video set up. All right. Give it a second. Let everyone catch up. All right, so let's get started. Welcome back, everybody. This is the second live stream for Fresh Faces, New Ideas. I'm your host, David, and this is the live stream. So, a little different from last time. As you can see in the bottom left corner, there is the Twitter feed. So please follow me on Twitter. It is Twitter @FacesIdeas. Please, like and subscribe to this video. If you have any comments, any questions, the chat is open. You can put it into chat. You can put it, comments on a video, and I will, respond to things. Or you can reach out to me on Twitter, Twitter @FacesIdeas. So that's my hashtag. So for this one, we're going to have three topics. Last time was there was only two, but I spiraled into a whole bunch of things. This time there's going to be three. So we're going to very briefly discuss what's going on with Texas and a lot of the misinformation and the ongoing campaign against green energy. We're going to discuss Cuomo and his handling of COVID, and then we're going to go to the Joe Biden town hall. Now, I haven't seen it yet. I've seen a little bit of the information about it, but I haven't actually, watched it. So this will be my first time seeing it, so you'll get my thoughts in real time to it. All right, so to start, the first thing is Texas. So for those of you who aren't aware, there's this massive cold front that basically went right through the middle of the country. And Texas has been just decimated by it. And part of the reason for that is, depending on who you listen to, it will depend on who you think is to blame. If you listen to like Fox News and the Republicans, the answer is Joe Biden has adopted the Green New Deal, and that the Green New Deal is the reason that none of the energy is broken, that none of the energy is working, and all of they have no power. That's what their rolling blackouts are, because their wind turbines froze, and because wind turbines don't work, and therefore green energy doesn't work. And if we allow that, if we allow the Green New Deal, which depending on how you listen to it, has either been implemented or is potentially being implemented, that will decide whether or not the rest of the country will end up like this. Now, everything they're saying about this is just wrong. The Texas infrastructure has a whole bunch of problems. Their power grid, first of all, is just generally separate from anywhere else in the country, so that they're not able to reach out to other local states to help them when their grid doesn't function the way it's supposed to. The other problem is they don't have the maintenance. They didn't do any maintenance, because their argument is wind turbines froze, so they didn't work, and because of that, there's no way green energy can work. You have to use the fossil fuels. That's the only reliable source of energy, because as we all know, Texas is run entirely by green energy. That's their argument, and everything about that is wrong. So green energy, the wind turbines make up about 25% of their energy in the winter, and they account for 13% of the power failures. So yes, it is part of the problem, but it is not the main problem. The main problem is that they're so deregulated and so based on making a profit that they don't have any energy reserves. They're just producing whatever they have to for the moment to get the most amount of money for whatever they need, and then they don't have any reserves. They're not connected to anything else. They don't do maintenance because they're not required to. They're not tied into any other states because they're Texas. They refuse to. So this idea that it's the wind turbines, that they're the ones who are causing the problem, is just ridiculous. I mean, the pipes are freezing, so they can't even, get, even if they switch back to, natural gas. Like there's this argument that Joe Biden banned fracking and all these things, but none of these things have happened. So even if they wanted to just switch back to natural gas in this weird world where it's not, they're forced to use green energy, it's just not true. They can't because it's all frozen. So the actual fuel sources that are working generally are nuclear and the green energy. So the best source, and the other argument is, oh well, the wind turbines, they all froze, except there's wind turbines functioning to do 100% power in Antarctica. So if they have wind turbines in the coldest place in the world, they can do wind turbines in Texas. And part of the reason these wind turbines weren't ready was simply because they don't get this weather in Texas. So now you have to prep these wind turbines for weather that you're not used to because of climate change. So every argument about this, that it's the Green New Deal's issue, that it's climate change isn't real, all of this stuff is just a ridiculous, bogus argument that makes zero sense on any level. Literally, if you do any amount of looking into this on any level, or if you can, think for 8 seconds about how illogical this sounds, it doesn't make sense that any of this is working. So that's what's going on with Texas. The best thing came out of this is, Joe Biden immediately gave them whatever funds they needed. And this is exactly what the president's supposed to do. There should be no fanfare. We shouldn't have to do fanfare about the fact that the president of the United States saw a state in trouble, and his first response was, did you vote for me or not? Because as the president, his job is to represent everybody. So the fact that Joe Biden was out here saying, yeah, you need help, here's the help, instead of Donald Trump, oh, it's your fault, you didn't vote for me, or when he said Puerto Rico, you're blowing our budget out of whack. None of these things came up. Every single time there's a big problem anywhere outside of Texas, Ted Cruz is always against it. He famously tried to hold up the relief for when Superstorm Sandy hit New York. So, look, Texas has a lot of issues. These are very actually similar to the issues that California has with their energy grid, because for them it's more profitable to just pay off the fines that they get for when they burn down a whole bunch of the forest and stuff than it is for PG&E. That's the name of the electric company. It's more profitable for them to do that than it is for them to actually do the maintenance and make sure that their lines and stuff aren't causing forest fires. And that's something that needs to be, looked at and, fixed, because we're going to end up with more extreme weather. It's going to keep coming, and these companies need to be able to supply the basic thing that they do is supply the power. So there has to be more looked into that to make sure that the companies are doing what they're supposed to. On the other side, we have COVID relief. So this is actually a big story, and it's a big story on two fronts. So the first story is that there appears to be that the Cuomo administration hid a lot of the data about how actually many people died in nursing homes. So the numbers of people who actually died didn't change. Like the overall number didn't change, but it was the percentage of them that changed. So they were hiding the data, and there's a whole bunch of problems with that. One is, part of the problem with that is the reason they were there was Cuomo's policies. So they're looking to remove some of his powers from that. And the other problem with that is if you don't have all the accurate data in order to figure out who's going on where the virus is and stuff, you can't give the vaccines and stuff. You need all the data to solve this problem, because that's what this is it's a problem, and we need all the information to adequately decide, okay, so this area of people is having 10 times more COVID deaths than this area of people, so we need to make sure that this area gets extra vaccines or whatever the response is, or why is this area so much worse. So the good news is the AG is looking into it. I hope there's an investigation into this, and he needs to be removed because he hid all this information because they knew they were doing the wrong thing. That's fine. You should be held responsible for your mistakes. But on the other hand, this is not about to do whataboutism. I'm making a point on one side and I'm making a point on the other. Ron DeSantis is not one to be, held up on a pedestal about this. Like, oh, Ron DeSantis did such a great job. Florida's having massive issues with COVID too. And part of the reason New York was hit much harder was because it was a hub city. It's the same with Los Angeles. Florida has a data problem, and we know this for a whole bunch of reasons. We know, like, right at the beginning of the pandemic, they fired one of their researchers who said, look, my job was to create the data for the program that allowed me to track all of the deaths for COVID and to do all of that. And then they fired me because I wouldn't lie for them. And then they raided that person's house in order to take their computers in order to make sure that they had access to this data in order to play with it. And we know DeSantis has made some ridiculous comments about it. So, look, you can simultaneously have two thoughts in your head. Cuomo fucked up and DeSantis fucked up. So, you can see both of those things happening, and both of them should be held accountable. It's really as simple as that. So from there, that's basically all I have for right now. We're going to go watch the town hall. I have not seen it yet, so we're going to go check on that.
Presidential town hall, the first with President Joe Biden. I'm Anderson Cooper. President Biden is just 4 weeks into his presidency and facing multiple crises. Nearly 500,000 of our fellow citizens, Americans, have died from COVID-19. Millions out of work.
And you enjoy being home with a baby more. I don't want to hear that.
I do, yes. Yeah, he's 9.5 months, so I'm very happy.
It. No. Everybody knows I like kids better than people.
I saw a picture of you with your grandson recently.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we got a lot of questions in the audience. We have about 50 or so people here. They're all socially distanced. We have some folks who voted for you, some folks who did not. And we're going to get as many questions in as possible. Before we get to that, I just want to start with a couple of just big picture questions about the pandemic and where we are right now.
Sure.
New cases of COVID-19, hospitalizations have fallen by half in the last month, so have new cases. That's the good news. There's this potential surge from the variants coming down the pike potentially. When is every American who wants it going to be able to get a vaccine?
By the end of July of this year. When we came into office, there was only a...
All right, hold on. It appears that there's no audio. Let me pull that back up. Mic is working. Looks like it is working. Let me pull that back up. Mic is working. Okay. All right,
50 million
so we're going to go back.
Doses that are available. We have now, by the end of July, we'll have over 600 million doses, enough to vaccinate every single American.
When you say...
50 million
so we're going to go back. The fact that there's
available. We have now,
it says that we're going to have 600 million doses by July. I think that's a little later than his original timeline, but I mean, that's nothing but good news to have that much doses.
When you say by the end of July, do you mean that they will be available or that people will have been able to actually get them? Because Dr. Fauci...
They'll be available.
They'll be available.
Be available.
Okay.
Here, look. What we did, we got into office and found out the supply, there was no backlog. I mean, there was nothing in the refrigerator, figuratively and literally speaking. And there are 10 million doses a day that were available. We've upped that in the first 3 weeks that we were in office to significantly more than that. We've moved out, went to the Pfizer and Moderna and said, can you produce more vaccine and more rapidly? They not only agreed to go from 200 to 400. Then they've agreed to go to 600 million doses. And we got them to move up the time because we used the National Defense Act to be able to help the manufacturing piece of it, to get more equipment and so on.
So if end of July, they're available to actually get them in the arms of people who want them, that will take, what, a couple more months?
Well, no, a lot will be being vaccinated in the meantime.
Okay.
In other words, it's not all of a sudden 600 million doses are going to appear. And what's going to happen is it's going to continue to increase as we move along. And we'll have reached 400 million by the end of May and 600 million by the end of July. And the biggest thing, though, as you remember, when you and I shouldn't say it that way, as you remember, but when you and I talked last, we talked about it's one thing to have the vaccine, which we didn't have when we came into office, but a vaccinator. How do you get the vaccine into someone's arm?
Okay, so they're definitely going to hop on this a lot. So the fact that he's saying that we didn't have a vaccine when they came into office is, we all know, is just not true. They had the vaccine. I think what he meant was that there was no plan. And then the pushback from the Trump administration has been, we did have a plan. It was basically, states, you figure it out, and then we'll deal with it. So I think that's what he meant. The fact that he's saying that we're rolling out the vaccine in the future is good. I look, I'm going to have to say this a lot. Joe does look much and sound much better than he did during the primaries. He definitely seems to be, more aware of the facts and pushing things better. So let's see how things continue.
Arm. So you need the paraffin, you need the needle, you need the mechanisms to be able to get it in. You have to have people who can inject it in people's arms.
That's been one of the problems, just getting enough people.
Yes, now we have made significant strides increasing the number of vaccinators. I issued an executive order allowing former retired docs and nurses to do it. We have over 1,000 military personnel. We have gotten the National Guard engaged. So we have significant number of vaccinators, people who'd actually be there. Plus, we've opened up a considerable number of locations where you can get the vaccination.
I want to introduce you to Kevin Michael. He's an independent from Wauwatosa. He's a mechanical engineer for a vehicle company. Kevin, welcome. What's your question?
Hi, welcome to Milwaukee.
How you doing?
Good. My question is regarding education.
Yes.
And considering the hybrid and virtual school instruction have been in place for nearly a year now, what is the plan and recommendation to get students back into the brick and mortar buildings? As a parent of 4 children, I find it imperative that they get back to school as safely as possible.
My mother would say, God bless you, son, no purgatory for you. 4 kids home. I really mean it. And by the way, the loss of being able to be in school is having significant impact on the children and parents as well. And so what we found out is there are certain things that make it rational and easy to go back to the brick and mortar building. One, first of all, making sure everybody is wearing protective gear. It's available to students as well as to teachers, the janitors, the people who work in the cafeteria, the bus drivers. Secondly, organizing in smaller pods, which means that.
Oh shit! All right, hold on. We're having some little technical problems.
You go back to the brick and.
But so what he's saying right now is he's arguing about he's asking the questions about when did teachers go back to school? So he's saying, look, everyone needs to have masks and things like that in order
to be
make
able
sure
to get
that
a vaccine.
Vaccine
by the end of July this year. We came into office, there was only
that's a good
50
answer.
million
I mean, he's not saying that
doses
they
that are
need the
available.
vaccine. He said,
we have now,
we have to have everyone have masks.
4 kids home. I really mean it. And by the way, the loss of being able to be in school is having significant impact on the children and parents as well. And so what we found out is there are certain things that make it rational and easy to go back to the brick and mortar building. One, first of all, making sure everybody is wearing protective gear. It's available to students as well as to teachers, the janitors, the people who work in the cafeteria, the bus drivers. Secondly, organizing in smaller pods, which means that's why we need more teachers. Instead of a classroom of 30 kids in it, you have 3 classes in that same of 10 kids each in those. I'm making the number up, less. It doesn't have to be literally 10. In addition to that, we also have indicated that it is much better, it's much easier to send kids K through 8 back because they are less likely to communicate the disease to somebody else.
So, I mean, he's right. Having the smaller groups makes sense. The problem with that is there's certain school districts where they just can't do that.
But because kids in sophomores, juniors, and seniors in high school, they socialize a lot more and they're older and they transmit more than young kids do, it's harder to get those schools open without having everything from the ventilation systems and having, for example, school bus drivers. We got to make sure that you don't have 60 kids or however many would depend on the size of the school bus, sitting 2 abreast in every single seat. And so there's a lot of things we can do short of, and I think that we should be vaccinating teachers. We should move them up in the hierarchy as well.
Well, let me ask you, your administration had set a goal to open the majority of schools in your first 100 days. You're now saying that means those schools may only be open for at least 1 day a week.
No, that's not true. That's what was reported. That's not true. It was a mistake in the communication. But what I'm talking about is I said opening the majority of schools in K.
All right, so there's going to be some problems with this. Apparently, I'm having some audio difficulties. I'm going to take them back and forth. So what's going to happen is I'm going to watch this video in another time, and I'm going to clip what I want. So I'll do like an overall reference to what's happening. So this one's going to be a little bit shorter because I'm having all of these issues. I might come back with it another time. But as it stands right now, I'm going to just very quickly just wrap things up here so I can figure out what it was going wrong on my end. So let me just recap a couple things. First, please follow me on Twitter at @FacesIdeas. That's my Twitter handle. Please like and subscribe to the videos. I'm going to get better at this. I'm not entirely sure where things aren't coming out the way that I want them to, but I'll come back and do it. The other thing is, as it stands now, my streaming schedule, I'm not going to stream tomorrow. I'm going to stream on Friday, and then next week I'm going to aim for Monday, Wednesday, Friday as my schedule. So the shows will come out somewhere between 1 and 3 will usually be about the time that I'm streaming. So I'm going to aim for that. Keep an eye on on my Twitter. Keep an eye on the actual, if you like and subscribe, you'll see the stream updates that they're there before I put them up. So I do apologize for cutting this short. I'm having some issues on my end, and I will solve them, and then we will have an actual stream where at some point in the future I'll be able to do the live streaming. Till then, thank you for watching. This is Fresh Faces New Ideas. My name is David. Please, like and subscribe. This is my Twitter handle's in the bottom. Have a good day, and I'll see you on Friday.